something that comes to you, okay? There's something in your niche. There's a small part of what you do that is so amazing to people that you might look over it because it comes so natural to you. My name is Niala Thorpe, the host of this amazing community. I'm also the CEO of Market Your Message, where we help our clients turn their story and skills into a six-figure business. Today, we're talking about, is your niche saturated and can you be profitable? If you're someone who's ever struggled with standing out, if you're someone who feels like your niche is so saturated, you need to get excited if you are. And here's why. Because what I'm going to share with you today is some real strategies that you can use to really stand out in your niche, whether you feel it's saturated or not. I know for me, my niche is absolutely saturated, right? So there are new business coaches that are showing up every day, by the dozens, by the hundreds, right? Especially since COVID started, a lot of people are stepping into this coaching industry. So I know for me, one of the things that I struggled with in my journey was standing out, was being able to get the attention from my ideal clients. And I believe that I'm somebody that really mastered that. So I'm going to be sharing with you some of the things that I've done on my journey and things that you can do, about 6 things that were 6 elements, or I don't know what to call it, 6 strategies that we're going to talk about today that's going to help you stand out in your niche if you're that person, okay? The first way that you can really stand out in your niche is by choosing a lane. Choosing a lane. And I know that you've probably heard this before, because a lot of people are always talking about, find your lane or stick to your genius zone. What is your it factor? Even me, myself, we say this a lot. So I know you've heard this before, but be rest assured that I'm going to give you some real ways that you can choose a lane, because choosing a lane is not as simple as just waking up one day and saying, I'm going to specialize in social media marketing, right? Choosing a lane is so much more deeper than that, okay? So here's the first thing we're going to talk about. One way that you can choose a lane is by choosing a part of your expertise where you excel and where you enjoy. Choosing a small part in your expertise where you can excel and what you enjoy. I know for me, I'm in the business coaching industry. I'm in the marketing industry, right? And when it comes to marketing, one of the ways that I decided I was going to stand out was I was going to figure out what part of marketing I was best at. Remember, I said where you excel, right? And so in my first few years of helping entrepreneurs grow their business and helping people with social media marketing, business marketing, whatever you want to call it, right? I realized that what I was really good at was messaging, right? And so the way I realized that I was good at messaging was I was listening to what a lot of people would say. This is something that a lot of people would say. Niala, you have a way with words. Have you ever heard that before? I don't know. But for me, that's what people would always say. Niala, you have a way with words. And I never knew that messaging was a thing, right? I never knew that messaging was a thing because it did come natural to me. Remember what I said? One of the ways that you could choose a lane is by choosing a small part of your expertise where you excel and what you enjoy. And so people always used to say, Niala, you have a way with words. And I never thought anything of it because it came very natural to me, the way that I communicate with people. That's another thing that a lot of people say about me is, oh, I love following Niala because, oh, she just keeps it real. Oh, how are you so authentic? And it's like, it's not something that I wake up in the morning and say, oh, today I'm just going to be authentic. It's just me being myself. And that is the example that I'm going to use why I think people say, Niala, you have a way with words. It's because it's just something that's really naturally that comes to me. And there's something that comes to you, okay? There's something in your niche. There's a small part of what you do that is so amazing to people that you might look over it because it comes so natural to you. And that is what I want you guys to think about this morning when it comes to, your niche being saturated. Can you stand out? Can you still be profitable? Again, the 6 things that I'm going to discuss with you guys today, These are things that I want you to think about that will allow you to stand out in your niche as well as be more profitable. Okay, because I do not believe that a niche is too saturated, right? Right? I know I said so, but here we're getting into the content now. I don't actually believe that. Because what I truly believe is that everybody has a place where they are divinely aligned to be in, right? Everybody has their own personal assignment. And you just have to figure out what that thing is, right? So the first thing is I want you to think about your expertise. I want you to think about everything that you do on a day-to-day basis. What part of that comes so natural to you? What part do you excel at? And what part do you enjoy? Okay, so that's number one. Number two, this is another way, and this is still under choosing your lane, but this is another way that you can actually choose a lane, right? And I see a lot of people do this. And that is look at a specific application. So what do I mean by that? Everything or every niche that you could think of have certain applications that we use, right? So I'm going to use marketing because that's my niche. So I'm going to use marketing for an example, right? You could be a marketing expert just like me, but maybe you decide that you're going to focus on Instagram marketing. So now you're a marketing strategist. I'm a marketing strategist. But your focus is Instagram marketing, whereas mine is messaging. Does that make sense? Let me see something else. You may be a lead generation expert. There's so many different applications, right? Like, for example, I use the application called Lead Pages. Well, let's say you decide, instead of me saying that I am a lead generation expert, I'm going to say that I specialize in helping, entrepreneurs generate leads with lead pages. See what I'm saying? So I want you guys to think of applications that you use to do what you do, right? And see how you can choose an application that you can specialize in. Anybody can do this. So the people who are sitting down listening to me right now, who's going to start saying, oh, but we don't have applications. It's not true. Put your thinking caps on, because every industry has applications that we use, right? Let's say that you are a speaker, okay? You are a speaker or a speaker coach, because we're talking to coaches, we're talking to service professionals in this training, right? You could focus on, I am helping, speakers share their story, whereas somebody else might be helping speakers get booked. Or maybe I'm thinking of an application. Toastmasters. I saw one of my colleagues put out a post the other day where she's helping people, something like a Toastmasters, which is so clever, right? But Toastmasters, if you're a speaker, that's an organization that's well known in the speaker community. And maybe you decide that you're going to specialize in helping people with their Toastmasters or getting into Toastmasters, whatever it is. Trying to come up with more examples, right? The point is, think of what applications that you use in your industry and how you can use that application to choose a lane. So let's say you are a speaker coach. You could focus on, I am helping, speakers share their story, whereas somebody else might be helping speakers get booked. Or maybe I'm thinking of an application. Toastmasters. I saw one of my colleagues put out a post the other day where she's helping people, something like a Toastmasters, which is so clever, right? But Toastmasters, if you're a speaker, that's an organization that's well known in the speaker community. And maybe you decide that you're going to specialize in helping people with their Toastmasters or getting into Toastmasters, whatever it is. Trying to come up with more examples, right? The point is, think of what applications that you use in your industry and how you can use that application to choose a lane. You can hone in. Now, let me tell you something, guys. You could do one of these tips. You can take one of these tips from me, or you can do all three. The more you do is the more you are going to find your lane, okay? The more you're going to find your lane. So let's use the example we were just using when I said, you could be a marketing strategist and you decide that you're going to focus on Instagram marketing, right? Whereas I'm also a marketing strategist and I focus on messaging. Well, what if you decided to focus on a specific person, right? So you could be a messaging expert, but you focus with lawyers. You focus on lawyers. Have you ever thought about that? You could be a messaging expert and you focus on lawyers. So that means that the type of, content that you put out is going to be geared to lawyers. The type of copy that you use in your advertising geared to lawyers, the type of stories and examples that you use on your live stream, for example, is going to be geared to lawyers. And what happens now is you carve out a small piece of your industry that is just for you. I hope, guys, that this is making sense, because the stuff that I'm sharing with you is what people do every day to be able to stand out in their niche and to be able to be profitable, even if they're in a niche that is considered saturated. Okay, so let's recap one more time. There are 3 ways that you could choose your lane. Number 1, you could choose a part of your expertise where you excel and where you enjoy. Number 2, you could decide to choose a specific application. Again, when I say application, I gave you guys the example of, Instagram, but I'm not just talking about social media, right? I'm talking about applications, period. And in any niche, there are applications that you use that you may decide that you want to specialize in. And this is where the money is at, guys. I always tell people say, that they're afraid of niching down. They're afraid of honing in on one thing because they feel like they're going to leave money on the table. But really what you do is you open yourself up to be able to make more money, because people want to work with experts. People want to work with specialists. People want to know that when they invest, they are going to get what they're paying for. And so if you're an expert at everything, then you really come off as an expert at nothing. Does that make sense? So I really hope that you guys are paying attention to me. So looking at a specific application, or you could decide on honing in on a specific person, right? So a specific ideal client or target market that you want to focus in on. And all of us, I want to challenge you guys to do that. If you are someone who's been struggling with standing out in your niche, this is what I want to challenge you this morning, to either take one or all of these tips and start really figuring out what your lane is, okay? The second way that you can really stand out in your niche and you could find your sweet spot and really be profitable is by sharing your story. Yes, sharing your story. Listen, this is what I'm all about, okay? Number 1, sharing your story allows you to connect with your ideal clients, okay? I ask people, listen, when I first started in this industry, it was back in 2012, okay? This was when people, used to take a lot of pictures in front of the Eiffel Tower in Paris, or I don't know. It was big, right? And I remember going through this phase where I would try to do any and everything to be able to measure up or to be able to stand out or feel like my brand had to look like this to be able to get the attention. And it started to weigh on me. Until one day I was like, you know what? I'm going to just be myself, because really and truly, that's all I could be. And I ask people all the time, what makes you stick around with my brand? What makes you continue to open up my emails when you see it? What makes you show up to everything that I do? And you know what they say to me? Because I connect with you. I listened to your story and it resonated with me and I connected with you. You understand what I'm saying? And this is something that's really important for you. There's no magic strategy out there, guys. There's no magic strategy out there. I hate to burst your bubble, but you are not better than anyone. That's not how it works. You are just you. And when you're able to show up as you and you're able to share your personality, that's the word that I should be using, your personality, people gravitate to that, right? So sharing your story is not only about telling your business or anything like that. It's just opening yourself up to be vulnerable so people can connect with you and they can start to know, like, and trust you. All right. And you've heard all of this before. I'm pretty sure that you have, but I'm hoping that I'm the person that you were supposed to hear it from. I'm hoping that something I say to you this morning will relieve some of the pressure that you have been feeling to measure up with all the strategies that's out there, to do everything that you see other people doing, and to just be okay with just sharing you. I'm hoping that that's what's happening, okay? Sharing your story allows you to connect with allows your ideal clients to connect with you. Number 2, sharing your story allows you to be memorable. I could tell you about stories that I've heard years ago that I can tell you people's story for word, word for word, because stories are memorable. I want you guys to think about growing up, or just think about people who have impacted your life in your journey. What do you remember about them, right? What are the experiences that stick with you? I can always bet that it's tied back to a story. So stories are very memorable. And that's another thing when it comes to standing out in your niche. It's not about being better, it's about being different. It's about being memorable. I'm going to say that again. It's not about being better. It's about being memorable. And the way that you can be memorable is by sharing you, is by sharing your story with your people. When was the last time that you have shared your story with your audience? Number 3, a signature story equals massive sales. And I have proven this time and time and time again. This is the thing that makes you different, guys, right? So remember in the first part when we, just now we were talking about you choosing your lane, and we're talking about how you can choose a specific application, or how you can decide to hone in on a specific target market. These are all practical things that you could do to stand out. But you know what? As simple as just sharing your story is also another way for you to stand out. Because your personality and your experiences is really what make you different. Are you guys following me? Are you guys feeling me here? I hope that you are, right? And so this is the reason why, if you have not seen, we're going to be doing a workshop where I'm going to be teaching you guys how to put together your story. This is one of the reasons why I decided to start month 1 talking about, you guys sharing more of your story, because I believe that that is what's missing. There's a reason why you decided, or you have a calling to do what you do. And people care more about why you do what you do instead of what you really do. Does that make sense? Does that make sense, Asia? I just replayed that back in my head. I'm like, people care more about why you do what you do than what you actually do. And so what I want to do is I want to encourage you guys to start sharing your story with your audience. Now, I've had people ask me, what does my story have to do with what I sell? Have you ever asked yourself that before? If you have, it has everything to do with what you sell, because your experience is what led you to exactly where you are today, right? So I think about my story, right? Before I came into the coaching industry, I had a hair salon, okay? And when I closed my hair salon, I kind of like hit rock bottom. I felt like a failure because, when I opened up my hair salon, I thought that I finally made it, right? It was the first time that I was making a good bit of money, and I thought that I finally made it. So when I closed my hair salon, it was like a failure for me. And when I came back online, that is the only thing that I had, guys. I would go on Instagram and I would share with people, some of my experiences with my hair salon, how I got the salon, how I lost the salon, the things that I learned. And people started to say that they resonated with me. And it started with one person listening to me, to 2 people listening to me, until finally I grew my Instagram to over 100,000 people following me and listening to my story. And back then, I didn't know anything about messaging. I didn't know anything about what I do today. All I had was my story. And this is one of the reasons why I am so passionate about helping my entrepreneurs really dig into their own story and crafting a story that will allow them to connect with their ideal clients and sell what they have. Your story has everything to do with what you sell, okay? Another thing that I hear a lot of people say is, what if I don't have a story? Well, Leona, I don't have a rags and riches story like you. Nothing bad ever happened to me. My life was great. Guys, that's still a story. Do you know that there are other people out there who feel the same way? And by you sharing those experiences with them, that is how you connect. That is how you connect. That is also how you stand out in a saturated niche. I hope that I'm getting through to you guys this morning. I really do. So let's recap one more time my 6 points. Number 1, the first thing that you want to do is you want to choose a part of your expertise where you excel and where you enjoy. This is usually something that comes very natural to you. This is usually something that people, come to you for all the time, that you can easily overlook, right? But if you can figure out a part of your expertise that you're really, really good at, that's going to help you stand out in your niche and also be more profitable. Number 2, looking at a specific application, whether it's a platform that you're using, an app that you're using, anything. Just think about your niche. think about applications that is very common in your niche, right? And maybe choosing one of those applications that you could specialize in or add to what you do. That is also going to help you stand out in a saturated niche. Number 3, honing in on a specific person. All right. So this one, I don't want to stay on too long because you guys really have heard all of this before. The best way is to hone in on a specific target market. Hone in on a specific person. That is the best way to stand out in a saturated niche. Okay. Number four, now we're talking about sharing your story. One of the reasons why you share your experiences is because that's going to help you connect with your ideal clients, right? And so one of the things that people always say, have you ever heard people talk about like your USP, your unique selling proposition? Okay, so I want you to think of your unique selling proposition as your signature story. You can use your signature story as your unique selling proposition. And if you come to the workshop, don't worry, I'm going to show you exactly how you do that, okay? Number 5, make sure that you are sharing your story because it also makes you memorable. So again, it's not about being better than anybody. It's about being memorable, and sharing your story allows you to do that. And last but not least, your signature story can equal to massive sales. So again, if you are struggling with standing out in your niche, or if you're struggling because you feel that you're in a saturated market, one of the best things that you can do is start to share your signature story. And guys, all right, guys. So thank you so much for joining me for Money Marketing Monday. Next week, we are going to be talking about you are the missing ingredient. What does that really mean? All right. So make sure, again, that you guys stay locked in. You put it in your reminders. Next Monday, 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right, guys. See you guys later. Have a great week.